Hey guys, welcome back to Cara's Cakes. Today I'm going to be attempting to make French macarons like these, and you might be thinking, you mean macaroons. A lot of people say macarons, but macarons are a different thing completely. Macarons can be like this or like this. So a macaron is a very delicate meringue-based cookie, and it can be tricky to make, so I haven't made them at home, so this may be titled Macaron Fail, but we're gonna give it a shot, and I have some things here that I'm gonna use. So I have all the ingredients out and some food coloring. This is a gel food color, and I have a sifter. I also have a baking sheet ready with this silicone mat. I got this mat on Amazon. I'll try to link it down below. And it just has the circles drawn out ready for you, so when you're piping each macaron, you make them even. The recipe I found online is from Preppy Kitchen, but all of the ingredients are here. So you're gonna need 100 grams of egg whites, and it says room temperature, so I put these out a couple hours ago. You need 140 grams of almond flour, 90 grams of granulated sugar, 130 grams of powdered sugar, a teaspoon of vanilla, and a quarter teaspoon of cream of tartar. Okay, so this video is gonna be more of a vlog style video because I have no idea if these macarons are even gonna turn out. I'm just gonna walk you through my experience making macarons at home. So one of the tips that I know is that you should clean your bowl, that you should clean your mixing bowl really well, that you're gonna be whisking the egg whites. So I like to use white vinegar and just put some on the paper towel. And you're gonna wipe it out because I use these bowls all the time for buttercream, and obviously that's grease. So we wanna make sure there's no grease in these bowls at all. Okay, so the first step is sifting in the almond flour and the icing sugar together. So I'm just gonna do the icing sugar first, and this is gonna get out any clumps. The recipe does state that if you do have clumps of almond flour at the end, not to push it through, because that will alter the mixture. And then we're gonna go ahead with the almond flour. Sift that through. So this might take a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it. If you can't get the almond flour through the sift without pushing through, you can use a food processor to blend it up a little bit. Okay, so now that the icing sugar and almond flour is sifted together, we're gonna set that aside. We're gonna add the room temperature egg whites into the mixing bowl. So we're gonna whisk the egg whites until it begins to foam, and then we're gonna add the cream of tartar. Okay, so you wanna beat up the egg whites until there's stiff peaks. So this is a stiff peak. See how it's standing up without flopping over? Like if you look at this, standing up without flopping over, that's a stiff peak. So now it says to add 1/3 of the dry ingredients at a time, and just be really careful when you're mixing it in. So you're folding. It's like you want to find a medium between don't let too much of the air out of the meringue, but you want to make it almost like lava, the recipe says. Okay, so the last of my dry ingredients are in. I'm gonna fold it all in. See how right now it's just kind of like dropping off of the spatula? You're gonna want it to be flowing and kind of so you can make a figure eight. So we do have to mix it more. And you're gonna think, you're gonna take too much air out, but you need to be able to pipe it onto the piping sheet. All right, can you see? It's flowing enough to be able to make a figure eight. So I'm gonna get this in a piping bag and pipe out the macaron shapes. Okay, so I have my piping bag ready, and I'm going to pipe onto the little circle, and then I think it's gonna spread a little bit. So we're just gonna pipe onto the little circle. So you're gonna squeeze and turn. I'm gonna make a few bigger ones. Those are pretty small. Okay, so you can see I piped all of these ones on the little circles and they're really small. Like there's my hand for reference. So I made a few bigger ones, kind of eyeballed them, and they are spreading a little bit, but now the recipe says to leave it sit for 40 minutes. Before that happens, I'm gonna go in and pop a couple bubbles. Like you can see this one has a bubble, that one has a bubble. Okay, so one of the steps before you let them set for 40 minutes is to tap them on the counter a few times to let out the air bubbles. And it's gonna be loud, but you're gonna have to do it. Okay, so I tapped the pan on the counter. Now I'm gonna let them set here for 40 minutes. Okay, so my 40-minute timer just went off. And you can see that there's still a few air bubbles in, but hopefully that'll be okay. And these ones that I did off of the sheet wasn't a good idea because they ran. But the other ones, these ones ran into each other. But I'm hoping for these guys that they pull through. And maybe some of these. But they've been sitting for 40 minutes. And when you touch them, they formed a little skin now, which is what you want. And I'm now preheating my oven, and these are gonna go in for 14 minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna put them in the oven for 14 minutes, but I'm gonna rotate them halfway through. The macarons were in the oven for 14 minutes. I flipped them halfway through. As you can see though, they kind of got a little brown on the bottom, and I'm just gonna let them cool completely on the pan before taking them off. Okay, so these ones turned out the best, the small ones. And when you flip them over, you can tell that they're a little bit brown, but they did cook good. They're cooked nicely, and then the next size, they stuck a little bit. See how it's stuck underneath? So I think they needed a little bit more time in the oven maybe, or a lower temperature, but these ones worked out okay. I flipped over these ones on the end using this to kind of get underneath them, and you can tell that they are a little soft in the middle, but yeah, see that? Anyway, so those ones didn't work out really, but these ones all came up pretty good. Okay, so I ended up putting vanilla buttercream in between, and you can see that they're a little too brown, and I only salvaged a couple. Here are the casualties. So the next time, I think I would do it on parchment instead of these things, and put the oven on a little lower temperature. Mine must be a little hot. Also, the almond flour that I bought was a little chunky, so next time I will try to get some thinner stuff. So the small ones turned out the best, and I did get some of the bigger ones. This one looks okay, but you can see like how it's brownish. I gotta fix that for next time. Okay, so that's it for today's video. If you have any tips or tricks for macarons, leave them down below, and I'll try again next time with some new almond flour and the smaller size instead of the bigger size. Thanks so much for watching. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos from me. See you next Sunday.